the second edition of V101 Media Podcast. And I'm Leonard Kaplan. My guest today is Claire Harrison, our other intern. Last week we interviewed Catherine Darnell, and now we're interviewing our second intern. Now I have to tell you, Claire, I asked for years for an intern to help me out and never got one. This went on for like 14 years. And now you're here and Kat's here and I didn't even ask for you. So how did you come to be here and what do you think of it so far?
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Len.
You're welcome.
Well, a few months ago, a friend's mom was talking to me about how she wanted to record a cooking show. And I have prior experience in that from college, specifically recording a cooking show. And she started telling me about how this studio was renovated and how she was thinking about maybe trying to do something here. So that got me interested in learning about what this space was like and what was happening here, because when I went to school here, this was not here at all. This was something I was interested in, but we did not have a studio. And so then I still have a pretty close relationship with my high school media teacher, Miss Dunphy. And she, every once in a while we meet up for breakfast and lunch. And so we met up for breakfast one time and I brought up the TV studio and she told me to just email Chad Fallon and see if there were any hours I could come over or see where I could help. And I did, and he got back to me, and here I am.
Great. We're going to go to a little break now, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. We had a little bit of an interruption there, but we can continue from where we left off. So that's what led you here. So what led you to a career or to contemplate a career in media itself before that?
Well, my mom has always been a big influencer in my life. In college, she was a film major. So I think that it was just one of those things that she fell into. She just loved cinema and movies, and she raised me on movies and really loving movies in general. So I've always had an interest in film. So when I went to college, I was a film studies major. But at my specific college, we didn't really have like a film making program, just a film study program. So I started to get involved in the broadcast media program because that was the way that I could get to know cameras and broadcasting and like what goes into making like TV and film. And I really fell in love with it. Like I loved working in my college TV studio and I worked at a community television for a little while. So that's kind of...
So what can you see here in our little studio that you didn't learn when you worked in community television?
Oh, well, the biggest thing I think would just be the technology in general that's available at this school is really amazing. I've never seen so many Mac computers in my life. And things like community television, there are a lot more rules because it's open to the public. So I think that here there's more of like a creative environment where you can talk about your ideas with the other people who work here and with students, and doing stuff like making a podcast. I never even considered doing that until I started here.
That's great. That's great that you can discover things in your own hometown too.
Yeah.
Like that, because it's not often that happens. You know, people usually have to go elsewhere to discover stuff like that. Now, we do other things here as well, photography and, of course, the podcasting in addition to the video. Now, you do some writing as well, correct?
Yes, I do. I really enjoy screenwriting. I'm not an expert. Oops. I'm not an expert or anything, but it's something that I enjoy to do, and I've been trying to hone my skills more recently and take on a few more projects to see where that takes me.
Maybe you're the one that I should let read my 2 screenplays that I've written. You can see if I follow the format. I got a screenwriting certificate from Emerson. I don't know if I told you that, but I found that I collaborated with somebody on a science fiction screenplay. It took us 2 years to come up with a draft because we got together like once a week. And then when we were done, it was originally my idea, and I co-wrote it with a good friend of mine. When I was reading it back, it sounded like him. I mean, it shouldn't have sounded like me, and it shouldn't have sounded like him. It should have sounded like the characters who were speaking. So I was very depressed after that because that shouldn't have happened. But that is what led me to kind of abandon the screenwriting form and start writing in a novel format. And that's what I've been doing for a while, writing a science fiction novel. Not the same story, but I don't know, it's just more freeing for me. There's so many rules in screenwriting.
Yeah, I think that's very true. I think that's part of the reason why I like screenwriting is I like having to adhere to the rules and the exact formatting while still being creative and trying to find new and interesting ways to kind of come up with like a 3-act story. But I understand why people don't enjoy doing that. It's a lot more. It's a lot more freeing, and you can get more. I feel like you can get more creativity out when you're writing a novel, when you're writing just to write.
And when you're writing a novel, you can always adapt that to the screenplay format, just choosing the action parts.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You know? The things that you can't do that I love doing is flashbacks. You're really not supposed to do that in a screenplay. And little asides, characters thinking and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You can't do all that. You can, but it's kind of limited.
Yeah, it can be a very limiting format just because you aren't inside of the character's head. You only witness their actions. You don't know what they're thinking.
So tell us about your paid gig that you do. Sometimes you share Mondays with them.
So actually I have 2 paid jobs now. One is at a production. I'm an intern at a production company in Boston. It's called Sweet Ricky. We mainly do commercials and pre-production stuff, sometimes some documentary things. And that job has been very, very eye-opening for me. Through that job, I was able to be on set. My being on set for the first time was on a commercial for the Massachusetts Lottery, and it was really, really cool to see how everything actually functioned. Like, instead of, I'm so used to broadcast media and broadcasting and television, and it was my first time being on like a film set. And then that led me, being there, I made a few connections, and then that led me to getting a job up in Devens, Mass, where New England Studios is, on an upcoming Netflix show. So I've been PAing once or twice a week over with them, and that has also been very eye-opening. It's a lot of hard work, a lot of long hours.
But you like it.
Yes, I like it, but yesterday, some days like yesterday where it was pouring rain and it was cold, and we were working with a dog, and we kept having to retake the same scene because the dog wasn't listening. It was a very, very long day. I had to leave my house at 5. I was there from 6 until about 10 o'clock at night. Didn't get home until after 11. So it was a long, long day, but it's going to be worth it once the show comes out. It'll be really fun to be like, oh, I was there for that.
Now, will your name be in the credits?
I think it will. When I signed up on my first day, I had to write out my full name and then write my name as it would appear in the credits.
Right.
But
well,
so
hopefully.
And that would be really cool. I'm definitely gonna look out for it.
Something to put in a demo. Now, do you have a demo reel?
I do not. I have I have a little bit of a demo reel. I have a few compiled clips of some news packages that I did when I was in college, but I've also done a few like experimental videos and a few cartoons that are not included in that. But I feel like I just feel like I can do better. And college was great, but we didn't have, we were using very old cameras and a very old Avid editing software, and I just feel like with updated technology I can, and also just honing my skill in general, I can make better stuff and then have a better demo reel than what I have now.
How do you like working with high school kids or being around them? Now, you're not that far removed from that generation. In fact, you know a few people here in the school, don't you?
Yes, I graduated from this school 4 years ago, actually, so I'm really not that far out of this, and my younger brother is a senior here, and my only cousin, my young cousin, is a junior here, so I know them, I know a lot of their friends. I think so far the experience has been pretty good. I think I came in expecting it to be a little different, but now that I'm here, I'm realizing like they're the same kids that I was in school with. Like kids will always be the same. They're kind of, and they're at that age where there's a lot of hormones. They're a little bit self-obsessed, and they aren't really, they're very focused on like high school is their entire world. They aren't thinking outside of high school as much. Right. So it can be a little hard because they often are not as motivated as I wish that they would be. Especially some of the upperclassmen that I think could do very well kind of aren't doing as much, but hopefully that'll change and they can focus, and it'll be rewarding once their work actually starts to come together.
Do you see yourself in them?
Yes, I think I was. Yes, I think that's another thing. I've been doing a lot of self-reflecting because now that I'm seeing these high school students, I've been thinking about how I was probably perceived in high school, and I think it's far different from what I actually thought. Like, in high school, I was like a drama kid. I thought I was really cool, and I helped run film club, and I was in book club. I thought it was really cool, but I think that I was just like these kids. I was just only cared about myself, and I was very active in high school. I did sports, and I was on a few, I was like a treasurer of a few clubs. So, but I wasn't really, I wasn't very empathetic, I think, is what I'm trying to get at. It was very hard for me to realize that everyone else around me was going through the same thing that I am. Right. I was very internalized.
I don't think anybody really realizes that too much in high school, In some ways, high school is a microcosm of the real world. You find all the same kinds of people that you find in the real world, but it's all condensed in one building, But it's pretty interesting when you look back on it and you've experienced the real world. And you can have a lot more insights, like I'm sure you have, like you just described.
Yeah.
So, anything else, Cat? I almost called you Cat. So, anything else, Claire?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Next week, we're going to finally interview some students in this media world here at Medford Vocational Technical High School. Until then, I am Leonard Kaplan with my guest,
Claire Harrison,
saying thanks for joining us and so long. Real world, and you can have a lot more insights, like I'm sure you have, like you just described.
Yeah.
So, anything else, Cat? I almost called you Cat. So, anything else, Claire?
No, I think that's it.
All right. Next week, we're gonna finally interview some students in this media world here at Medford Vocational Technical High School. Until then, I am Leonard Kaplan with my guest,
Claire Harrison,
saying thanks for joining us and so long.